The story was nearly lost until someone whispered it to the flames. Pull up a log, take a seat, let the dark settle in. Because the fire remembers what the world forgets, and once the fire starts speaking, it doesn't stop. Tonight, the woods are whispering. Trails vanish, campsites multiply, voices come back wrong. You came for the hike, but you might not leave the same. Welcome to Campfire Horror, things that wait in the trees. Story 1, we took the wrong trail. It was supposed to be a weekend trip, just 3 friends, 1 national park, a shared playlist, and a badly drawn map we picked up at the ranger station because we wanted to go old school. We were halfway through the hike when we saw it, an offshoot trail, barely visible between the trees, no signage, no markings, just a worn path disappearing into thicker forest. Donnie noticed it first. She said, "Looks like a shortcut." Nick pulled out the paper map, frowned, and said, "It's not on here," which made us all more curious. That was our mistake. We were already an hour behind schedule. So instead of looping around to our reserve site, we decided to take the shortcut. The moment we stepped onto that trail, it got colder. The sunlight dimmed, even though it was barely 4 p.m. The air changed thicker, like we were walking into a cave made of trees. None of us said it, but I think we all felt it. This trail wasn't meant to be used. About 10 minutes in, we noticed the birds had stopped chirping. Then came the smell like wet wood and metal, like rust soaked into moss. And then we found the first marker, a wooden sign nailed to a tree, carved by hand, no paint, no symbols. Just 3 words burned into the wood, "Don't look back." We thought it was a prank. Nick laughed and filmed it for TikTok, but Danny looked nervous. She said, "Guys, this trail gives me the creeps." We kept going anyway, because horror movies always happen to other people. Half an hour in, Nick said, "Wait, is that our tent?" And it was. Our campsite, the one we were supposed to reach by the main trail, was suddenly just a few feet ahead. Only it wasn't exactly right. Our tent was there, but zipped open. Chairs knocked over, backpacks torn. There were claw marks on the cooler. And a second fire pit still warm. None of us had been here before. We hadn't even set camp. But everything looked used by us. Or something that thought it was us. That's when we heard the footsteps. Coming from the trees, too slow to be a deer, too heavy to be a squirrel. Too wrong to be human, Danny whispered, "We shouldn't be here." I turned to say something, and that's when I realized Nick was gone. Just not there anymore. No sound, no scream. Just empty space where he'd stood seconds ago. We shouted his name over and over, but every time we said it, the forest echoed it back distorted, off-key, like someone trying to remember how to sound human. Then came the laughter. Not Danny's, not mine, but it was Nick's voice, from all directions. Laughing, sobbing, asking, "Why didn't you stop me?" We ran, back the way we came, but the path was gone. The shortcut had vanished trees packed too tight, branches grown together like a ribcage closing. We tried going in another direction, any direction, but no matter where we turned, we ended up back at the campsite. Only now, the tent was zipped shut, and something inside it was breathing. We never unzipped it. We didn't need to, because something stepped out, wearing Nick's hoodie, his shoes, even his smile. But it was taller, wrong-shaped, and its eyes didn't blink, they shimmered, like glass over fire. It raised a hand, waved, then said in Nick's voice, "Let's take the shortcut again." We ran until our legs gave out. Eventually, we passed out from exhaustion. When we woke up, we were lying on the original trail. No sign of the detour, no sign of Nick. Just his phone face down in the dirt, still recording. The last clip, it shows us walking down that wrong trail, and something just behind us, wearing a face, not a mask. A face. We told the rangers everything. They searched for days. Never found the trail. Never found Nick. And the next time I checked that paper map, there was a tiny mark where the trail had been. A single black X. And under it, faintly written in pencil, "It follows the ones who looked back." Story 2. The campground that wasn't there yesterday. I've hiked that forest for years. It's where I go to get quiet. To unplug. To stop thinking about spreadsheets, inboxes, and everything else that makes the world feel like a pressure cooker. I don't use a GPS, I know the trails by heart, and on this trip, I wanted something off-grid. So I veered off the main loop toward a clearing I'd camped in once, maybe 5 years ago. It was always a little eerie there. The trees feel taller, the air holds still, like the forest is holding its breath, but this time, it wasn't empty. I found a campground, perfectly set up, a fire pit, still warm, a bright orange tent zipped shut, 2 chairs side by side, a red thermos half full sitting on a tree stump, and not a single sound of anyone nearby. I called out, no answer. I circled the site, expecting someone to pop out, annoyed or confused. But the woods were dead quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence where you start hearing your own heartbeat in your ears. I should have left. Should have trusted the hairs standing on my arms. But instead, I did something stupid. I opened the thermos. It was still hot. Coffee, cinnamon, fresh. Whoever had been here. Had been here very recently. I walked to the tent and knocked on the canvas. Still nothing. I didn't unzip it. Something told me not to. I moved a few 100 feet away and set up my own camp. Didn't sleep much that night. Kept hearing twigs breaking in odd patterns. Once, I saw a flickering light in the tent through the trees. And at 3:14 a.m. exactly, I heard a voice. It sounded like me. But I was alone. Morning came. I packed up fast. Didn't even stop for breakfast. Headed back to the trail. Only it wasn't there. I was standing right where the turnoff had been, but it was gone. The trees were different. The landmarks had shifted. And when I spun around, the campground was behind me again, identical, but now. There were 3 chairs. I ran. Didn't stop until I found a tree I decarved into on a previous trip, a marker only I would know. I looked up, and the campground was just ahead, now with 4 chairs. I tried sleeping under a tree that night, far from the site, woke up sweating. There was firelight flickering against my tent wall. I looked outside. Same campground, same thermos, same chairs, now 5. And someone was sitting in one of them. I didn't see their face. Just their silhouette, facing me, motionless. I backed away slowly. But I tripped on something. A root? No, a boot. My boot, and beside it my backpack, the one I lost years ago and never found. Covered in moss, but perfectly intact. I screamed, grabbed my knife and carved a warning into the nearest tree. Don't stay here. Then I ran again, didn't care where. Just away, I must have blacked out, because I woke up in a sleeping bag. At the campground, all 5 chairs were full now. None of the people turned when I stood, but I saw their faces. They were all me. Different versions, worn, ashen, dead-eyed. One was smiling. That's when I noticed something new. A 6th chair. Still empty, and a hot thermos. Still steaming, waiting. Story 3. Don't follow the lantern. My older brother told me the story when I was 8. He said there was a man with a lantern who walked the woods near the edge of town. No one knew who he was or where he came from, but if you saw his light, you were supposed to turn around immediately, because if you followed it, you wouldn't come back. Not as yourself, anyway. It was the kind of story you tell around campfires. A tale to scare kids out of sneaking into the woods after dark. I didn't believe it until I saw the light myself. It was the summer after high school. 4 of us decided to do a weekend hike before we all split up for college. Jesse, Mariah, Ben, and me. On the 2nd night, we pitched tents near an old logging road, one that hadn't been used in years. No service, no sounds. No reason to expect anything but silence. Around midnight, Ben woke us up. Said he saw someone moving through the trees. A flickering light. We all stepped out of our tents and saw it. 2, a single lantern bobbing in the dark. It wasn't close, maybe 100 feet away. But it wasn't swaying like a person was walking with it. It hovered, then started moving. Not fast, just deliberately. Jessie whispered, "That's gotta be a ranger." But Mariah shook her head. Rangers don't walk through the woods with lanterns. Ben started walking toward it. We told him to stop, yelled. He didn't respond. It was like he couldn't hear us. We chased after him, but the forest was darker than it should have been. Like the trees had closed in tighter, branches leaning lower. We lost sight of Ben in less than a minute, and the lantern disappeared with him. We searched for hours, calling his name, checking the trail, retracing our steps. But the forest felt different, wrong, and cold, too cold for August. At sunrise, we found Ben sitting cross-legged in the middle of the trail, eyes open, mouth slightly parted, motionless. He didn't blink, didn't speak, just sat there, until we touched his shoulder. He gasped, clutched his chest, and screamed a name none of us recognized. Then he passed out. When he woke up, he didn't remember anything. Not the lantern, not walking away, not the name he screamed. He said the last thing he remembered was roasting marshmallows. We hiked out that afternoon, didn't say much on the way back, but that night, I got a text from Ben. Just a photo of the woods, from an angle that looked like it was taken miles from where we camped. And in the corner of the image, a lantern, floating. I tried calling him. Straight to voicemail. Then Jesse called me. Said he'd just gotten a text too. Same image, same lantern. The next morning, Ben was gone. His parents said his bed was empty. No signs of struggle. Just a faint smell of smoke in the room. Over the next few weeks, the lantern started appearing in our dreams, always flickering just beyond reach. Sometimes we'd see Ben walking toward it again. Sometimes he'd turn and look at us and smile, but it wasn't his smile anymore. It was too wide, too calm, like he knew something we didn't. Mariah went missing last. After telling me she woke up in the middle of the night and found a glowing light on her ceiling, she followed it outside. Sent me a voice message right before she vanished. She whispered, "It's not a man, it's not a ghost. It's what comes when you see what shouldn't be seen. Don't look into the flame. Don't say its name." I moved across the country, stopped hiking, stopped camping, avoided anything with trees. But last night, in my new apartment, I heard a knock on the window. I live on the 3rd floor. And when I looked through the blinds, there it was, the lantern. Hovering, flickering, waiting. Story 4. I was the forest ranger on duty. I've worked as a forest ranger for over 30 years. I've seen wildfires rage and lightning strike trees in half. I've broken up fights between campers, chased off bears, even delivered a baby once in the back of a pickup truck. But nothing prepared me for the night I got the call from Tower 6. That tower was supposed to be abandoned. We decommissioned it after a landslide damaged the support beams 5 years back. No one had been up there since. The stairs had been pulled down, and we boarded the lower level. So when I heard a distress call in my name, no less, I thought it was a prank, until I heard the voice and recognized it. It was a hiker, a woman who'd gone missing in the same area exactly 1 year ago. I'd been part of the search party. We never found a trace of her, not a footprint, not a scrap of clothing, nothing. We assumed she'd fallen into a ravine or gotten lost in a cave. But the voice crackling through the radio was unmistakable. "Ranger Ellis, please help me. I made it back to Tower 6. Something's following me. I think I'm still bleeding." I radioed back. No response. Just static. So I broke protocol, took the Jeep, and headed into the forest after dark. The road to Tower 6 had long since overgrown. I had to park and hike the last half mile. That part of the forest always felt heavier than the rest. Too many trees leaning in, too little wildlife, and always that faint smell like copper and mold. When I reached the clearing, I froze. The tower was intact, standing like it had never been condemned. Fresh wood on the supports, lanterns glowing at the top platform. And on the ladder, I saw her, or something that looked like her. She was climbing down, slowly, too slowly. And when she saw me, she stopped halfway and tilted her head. I called her name. She didn't respond. But something behind her did. A shadow moved wrongly like it didn't care how light worked. It slid down the railing behind her like water, clinging to the wood. I ran up the ladder, grabbing her hand. It was cold. Too cold. And her eyes didn't blink, but her lips moved. She said, "It doesn't like when you find us. It wants you to forget." Then she screamed, and something pulled her backward. Hard. I climbed after her, but the top platform was empty. Just wind. Just silence. And when I looked down, the forest had changed. No jeep, no trail, no radio signal. And the trees, they were pulsing, like they were breathing. I spent hours trying to find my way out. When I finally stumbled into the ranger station at dawn, they didn't recognize me. Sighed I'd been missing for 4 days. I showed them the recording, the dispatch logs. But when we returned to Tower 6, it was gone. Just rubble and a tree growing through the center like it had been that way for decades. I retired early after that. Took a desk job near the city. But sometimes, at night, I still hear the radio crackle, and a voice whisper, "Ranger Ellis. It remembers you. Last week I got a package. No return address." Inside a photo of me, standing in Tower 6, smiling, but I don't remember it being taken. And the woman behind me, she wasn't the one we lost. She was wearing my uniform. Story 5. The woods remembered me. I was the only one who made it out alive. That's what the headline said. That's what the news anchors called me, the sole survivor. I didn't correct them, because if I told the truth, they wouldn't believe me. That the forest let me go, that it watched me run, and that it whispered as I stumbled into the ranger's arms, "You'll come back, they always do." It happened 15 years ago. We were just teenagers, 5 of us, on a weekend camping trip in the deep woods beyond the state line. No cell signal, no ranger stations, just stories. Old stories about a part of the forest that wasn't marked on any map. Locals called it the Memory Grove. Said if you walked into it, the trees would remember you. And if you left, you'd never forget them. The first night was normal. We drank, we laughed, we made fun of the warnings. But by the second night, things started to change. We couldn't sleep. Branches scraped the tents, but there was no wind. Every few hours, one of us would hear our name, just our name, whispered from the dark, soft, familiar, and by morning, Riley was gone. We searched for her. screamed ourselves hoarse. But the forest felt bigger than it had the day before. Every tree looked the same, the compass spun uselessly, and the trail we came in on had vanished. That's when we found her boot nailed to a tree. Not hanging, nailed. And below it, carved into the bark, she wanted to stay. The next night, Matt started sleepwalking. Woke up standing at the edge of camp, eyes wide open, muttering something under his breath. He didn't remember a word of it. But when I wrote it down, it wasn't English. It wasn't any language. It was something that made my hands ache just looking at it. That was the night the forest began speaking. We didn't hear voices. We heard memories. Not ours. The trees would creak, and we'd see flashes moments from people we didn't know. A woman digging a shallow grave. A child tying a string to a bone. A man whispering apologies into a hole before covering it with leaves. And always the same final whisper, the woods remember. The others were taken, one by one. Some vanished in their sleep. Some followed something we couldn't see. One of them laughed as they walked away, like they finally understood something the rest of us didn't. I made it out because I stopped fighting. I stopped running. I turned to a tree one with symbols carved in its bark and whispered, I understand. And then I was waking up beside a highway, covered in dirt, my nails cracked, my mouth full of moss. For 15 years, I stayed away, moved to a city, avoided trees, trails, even potted plants. But last week, a letter arrived, no return address. Just one sentence, scrawled in green ink, you promise. Inside was a pinnacone, split open, and inside it, a piece of cloth. From Riley's jacket, I went back. I told myself it was for closure, to leave something behind, but really, I never stopped hearing them. The trees, calling my name, waiting. I hiked in during daylight, didn't bring food, didn't bring gear, just the pinnacone. The deeper I walked, the more familiar it felt. The compass broke again, the birds fell silent, and I found my old campsite untouched. 5 tents, even mine, still zipped, still warm. And in the fire pit, something burned, slowly, like it had just been lit. I leaned in to look, and the fire spoke, in my voice, we've been waiting. Your memories are ready now. Then the trees began to move. Not sway move, they turned toward me. And I remembered something I'd forgotten for 15 years. The deal, the promise. I wasn't let go. I was sent to bring someone back. 5 stories, 5 trails you should have never followed. But if the fire showed you something tonight, something familiar, something you can't explain, leave a comment. Let us know if the woods have ever called your name. And if you want to hear what the fire remembers next, click the video on the screen, subscribe, and take your place by the flames before they fade.